Deciding when to leave a marriage is one of the most difficult decisions to make. This tolerance framework can help you put structure to that decision. Before we look at the actual framework, let's just be clear about what tolerance is. When you tolerate what others think, feel, say, and do, it's not approval, it's not endorsement, it's not something you would recommend or something that you like. Rather, it's simply acknowledgement of the reality. And it's an acknowledgement with the intention to position yourself to be mentally and emotionally in the best space possible to respond, not react, right? To get more of what you want, to move towards what you want, and less of what you don't want, right? To move away from what it is that you don't want, right? To keep in alignment with your boundaries. The more you're able to tolerate, the more you're able to respond and thus move towards the goal, the value, or the purpose. So with that working definition of tolerance, this tolerance framework, again, will help you kind of structure this decision, this question of if it's time to leave. And so it's broken down into these three categories. 1, you are willing to tolerate your partner's undesirable behavior and you think the relationship is worth maintaining. 2, you are not willing to tolerate your partner's undesirable behavior, but you think the relationship is worth maintaining. And 3, you are not willing to tolerate your partner's undesirable behavior and you think the relationship is not worth maintaining. These are the 3 categories in which I want you to kind of structure your thinking around the relationship as it is right now. Where you want to be if you deem the relationship worth maintaining is at level 1, wherein that you are willing to tolerate your partner's undesirable behavior and you think the relationship is worth maintaining. Where you don't want to be, and where often clients meet me at or come to me at, is level 2. You're not willing to tolerate your partner's undesirable behavior, but you think the relationship is worth maintaining. And that's not where you want to be, because that's going to produce the intense emotions of depression, anxiety, right? Versus the alternative emotions that come at level 1, right? The willing to tolerate. Again, remember, we tolerate, we're just acknowledging the reality, right? We don't like it. We don't approve of it. We're just willing to tolerate it because we believe the relationship is worth maintaining. But the emotions that come at this stage or at this level, right, that's going to be produced by the thinking that comes from tolerating the situation, is going to be concern instead of anxiety, sadness instead of depression, frustration instead of anger. How do you know you're at level 2? Look at the emotions you're producing. The emotions you're producing are a byproduct of the thinking that you're having. The thoughts that are connected to, I can't tolerate this. I won't tolerate this. I can't stand this. I shouldn't have to. That's extreme thinking. The reality is, if you're still in the situation, you can handle it because you actually are handling it. Now, it's a different question of do you want to or not. And again, that comes back to the framework. Are you willing to tolerate it and you think the relationship is worth it? Or you're not willing to tolerate it and you think the relationship is worth it. And again, when you're in this category, you're not helping yourself. You're not helping yourself constructively problem solve. You're not helping yourself to constructively engage your partner, right? In order to move him towards your boundaries, to move him towards your goals for the relationship, to move him towards the desirable behavior. Why? You're not in the best position because you're not in the best space mentally and emotionally. As difficult as this is, one of the best things you can do in order to fix your relationship is to start with yourself. Because once you're in the best space mentally and emotionally, you're also in the best space to decide whether this is the relationship you want to be in, whether the relationship is worth it or not. You're in the best space mentally and emotionally to start looking at the benefits and the cost. Right? What is the benefit of staying? What is the cost? Is the cost of me staying continuing a legacy of abuse that I witnessed with my mother, whose desire was for me to not live out the same relationship when I got married? Is that the cost that comes with deciding that this marriage is worth maintaining? In order to make that decision, you need to be in the best space mentally and emotionally. And the way that you're in the best space mentally and emotionally is accepting that I'm going to tolerate this. And now that I'm going to tolerate this, that means I'm experiencing emotions that allow me to engage my partner from a space of irritation, concern. And see, frustration and concern will allow you to maintain that level of diction that's respectful, that tone that's respectful, so that we're not caught up in the tone of the message or the wording of the message. We're just caught on the actual message. But again, we come back to breaking it down into these three categories. This framework will help you put structure to this important question: when to leave, and in some cases, when to break this cycle of abuse.